This is the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation in Freetown. Good evening and a warm welcome to News Hour. My name is Mahawa Aliyu and thank you very much for joining us. Coming up in this evening's edition of the news, African Court President on Human and People's Rights calls on governments to ratify the Human and People's Rights Protocol. Commissioner Anti-Corruption Commission vows to end corruption in the country. And Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee queries Agriculture Ministry for improper account of public funds. All these stories and more, including business and sport news, lined up in tonight's edition of News Hour. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, this is News on the SLBC in Freetown. The National Sports Council would like to inform the general public that the football stakeholders have submitted resolutions of the Sierra Leone Football Association SLFA Extraordinary Congress held in the city of Bo on the 28th of July 2018 to the Directorate of Sport on Tuesday the 31st of July 2018. The National Sports Council has set up a committee to examine the report in its entirety. We will soon summon a press conference to address the following: the resolution of the Extraordinary Congress, the impasse and the way forward. We will kindly request that the membership of the Sierra Leone Football Association SLFA and the general public exercise patience and allow the process to be completed. We are sorry for any inconvenience this may cause. Signed, Ibrahim Bangura, Directorate of Sports. A delegation from the African Court on Human and People's Rights has held discussions with President Julius Maada Bio at State House. According to the delegation, the purpose of the visit is to explain to the President the essence of the court. Well, Hawa Mosiri has details.
Of the court, Justice Sivian Ore expressed gratitude for the opportunity to meet and discuss with President Julius Maada Bio the benefits of the court on the continent. Justice Sivian Ore said one of the major objectives of the court is the protection of human rights in member states by putting the right legal framework for redress mechanisms.
The purpose of the visit is to request from you to ratify the protocol of the court and also to make the declaration to allow individuals to seize the court, of course, in terms of protection of human rights in Africa. We have 30 countries that have made the ratifications so far, and 8 that have made the declaration to allow the individuals.
President Bio thanked the judge for the effort in strengthening human and people's rights across the country.
You can rest assured that we will give this particular issue a positive consideration. We will take a look at it and consider the ratification and also the declaration. It is a positive development that we in Africa are making as far as this is concerned, because we have to make sure that our people's rights are protected and that human rights are also protected, and that we take concrete steps to make sure that we actually protect the people of this continent.
In another development, the outgoing Guinean ambassador to Sierra Leone, Fode Camara, bade farewell to President Bio after 4 years of diplomatic service in the country. Ambassador Fode Camara said Guinea and Sierra Leone have many things in common and that ties between the two countries will continue to get stronger.
I'm confident that the relations between Guinea and Sierra Leone will do sister republics will really improve under your leadership.
President Bio thanked the outgoing Guinean ambassador for his service to the country and expressed appreciation to the ambassador for his efforts in solidifying the relationship between the two countries.
We want to use this opportunity to thank you for all that you've done to deepen the relationship between our two countries. Of course, we've always worked very hard to keep the relationship between our two countries at the highest level, and you've contributed to that relationship, to keeping it strong and diversifying our areas of activities. So I want to wish you success in your diplomatic career wherever you are. Consider Sierra Leone always as a sister state.
Also at State House, the outgoing Bishop of the Methodist Church of Sierra Leone, Right Reverend Arnold Temple, presented the newly elected Bishop of the church, Reverend Mark Gobe, to President Bio. The outgoing Bishop informed President Bio that the new Bishop was elected during their recent national conference and that as a church, it is always a tradition to present the new Bishop to the sitting head of states.
In all of our conferences, the first event of a conference would always be to send a loyal greeting to the head of state. We have done that since our inception, and today we are happy to come here also to present the loyal greetings of conference. I want to assure you, sir, that it's the greetings of every member of that conference. It's a unanimous vote that we offer our loyal greetings to you, sir, Your Excellency.
President Julius Maada Bio commended the old leadership of the church for the smooth transition, adding that Sierra Leone is recognized among other countries in Africa for its religious tolerance.
The church and Islam have lived together very peacefully. I think that is something that we should celebrate and encourage, because around the world that is definitely a source of war and disturbance. For the most part, we have been able to live very peacefully with our brothers and sisters on the other side, Islam. So as a state, we want to encourage that. We have to celebrate it. We are distinct in that sense, because we all believe that everybody has a right to pray to who they want to pray and to believe in whichever God they want to believe in.
President Bio wished the new bishop in his new assignment and commended the Methodist mission for its good work in the country, especially in the area of education and health. SABC TV News Eye in Freetown, Hawa Masuru reporting.
Meanwhile, the African Court President also called on the government through the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Dr. Ali Kaba, to ratify the Human and People's Rights Protocol at his Star Hill office here in Freetown. Hawanatu Conte has details.
Promoting human and people's rights in the world is a worrying challenge for the leaders, with Africa no exception. Human and people's rights violations is a common occurrence in the globe. To this end, the African Union leadership of the African Court on Human and People's Rights is pushing hard for the court's protocol to be ratified by African governments. It is against this backdrop that the President of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, Justice Sylviane Ore, and team are in Sierra Leone to encourage the government to do just that. The African Court's president underscored the need for Sierra Leone to ratify the protocol. Justice Ore briefed the Foreign Affairs Minister on the status of the African Court as part of ongoing efforts of the court to interact with different AU membership leaderships in order to deepen their understanding of the court's mission. The Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Minister, Dr. Ali Kaba, informed the envoy that the New Direction agenda was President Julius Maada Bio's flagship program designed to make Sierra Leoneans be an integral part of an inseparable and indivisible country. He added that governments promote inclusive politics, governance and development as the only guarantor for sustainable peace and security. The Foreign Affairs Minister assured the African Court envoy of his government's commitment to enhance the ratification of the protocol. It is reported that so far 30 out of 55 African Union member states have ratified the protocol and Sierra Leone is yet to ratify it. In another engagement, the ambassador of Guinea to Sierra Leone, Fode Camara, has taken formal leave of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Ali Kaba, at the ministry's office, Tar Hill. He said he has always remained focused and committed in maintaining, strengthening and broadening the bilateral ties between Sierra Leone and Guinea. Dr. Ali Kaba described the bilateral relations between Guinea and Sierra Leone as very cordial.
Now, the Minister for Primary and Secondary Education, Alpha Usman Timbo, has said that before the start of the free education in September, schools owned or assisted by government have to be approved, amalgamated or closed, while more structures are gradually being constructed. The minister was speaking to journalists at the normal weekly press briefing at the Ministry of Information and Communications conference room, new building here in Freetown, while Patrick Salia was in attendance. And he now reports.
Quality education, they say, is the bedrock for the quality production of educated people. If this saying is anything to go by, then this justifies the desire by the government to provide free education for Sierra Leoneans. It has been reported that the country has lost its past glory as the Athens of West Africa. Timbo assured these journalists of government's policy on the free education on Thursday, 2nd August, at the weekly government news conference in Freetown. The education minister noted that government has allocated 21% of the national budget to the education sector, in which about 34 billion leones has been added to the approval of new schools using the new criteria to ensure quality standards. In the near future, the minister said, there will only be government-owned or assisted and private schools, thus eliminating the community school system.
So if you do not have space, then that means that school has reached its capacity. So in terms of planning for the future, for government model, the prescribed number that we expect there is going to be 140, period. We are going to open another school. So in the next 2-3 years, we would have known that for government to locate secondary school, this is just the total number that they will be occupying. Then we give ourselves the challenge of building more schools. That is why, in fact, substantial amounts have been put for the construction of new school, expansion, as well as rehabilitation.
To this end, he added, there will be national and regional education boards, district education management committees, and wards educational committees that will superintend over the implementation of the free quality education. They will also determine the appropriate location of any school structure with a membership comprising but not limited to members of political parties currently represented in Parliament, a student as well as a member of the Community Teachers Association. The minister underscored that the objective of the free quality education is to reduce financial burden on parents and guardians in line with the manifesto of the SLPP, which automatically became a policy after the elections in March this year. He added that meetings with relevant stakeholders, including teachers' union and the paramount chiefs, have been held extensively while the new school census data is being analyzed. The free education is expected to begin at the start of the new school year in September, and its launch is expected on the 20th August by President Julius Maada Bio. For SLBC News in Freetown, Patrick Salia reporting.
Now, the Deputy Minister of Water Resources, Dr. Edward Hinga Sandi, has refound the new direction commitment to provide pure drinking water for the people of this country. Dr. Sandi was speaking at an event organized by Aptic Africa, the sole dealer of ground foods products in the country. It was a forum to exhibit solar water pumps that can help solve water and energy challenges in the nation, held at the Radisson Blu Hotel in Freetown. Sheikh Sumaila has more.
Provision of clean and safe drinking water remains a huge challenge in the country. Governments in this country have been grappling with this problem for many years. It is even worse in rural areas. Provision of hand pump wells by government and NGOs has not in entirety addressed this issue. The new direction agenda also has provision of water among its priorities, the reason why it is calling for public-private partnership in the water sector. The introduction of solar water pumps by Aptec Africa, a dealer in Grundfos products, has been described by the Deputy Water Minister, Dr. Edward Hinga, as a welcome news. The solar water pumps are not only used to pump water into tanks, but also provide reliable solar energy, especially for rural communities. He said that in implementing WASH programs in the country, Grundfos products will be needed, as it is a commitment by governments to ensure that its citizens have access to potable drinking water. He disclosed that government will soon embark on a water treatment plant project for which Grundfos services will be needed.
The rural water supply and sanitation is key on our agenda, and a couple of projects have been developed, and we hopefully will have them on the budget line for 2019. And so you're assured that whosoever is going to either companies or going to show interest in helping us develop water supply potentials in this country are sure to actually have a package.
Ilali Ameko is area sales manager for Francophone Green Region for Grundfos. He took time to explain the services and products Grundfos provides across the world, and that they have been working across the globe with governments and the private sector to fix their water problems, with up-to-date technologies, solar water pumps being one. He disclosed that Aptec Africa is their sole dealer in Sierra Leone, and that they are ready to work with government and the private sector to address the water and energy problems in the country. Country Director Aptec Africa, Astwe Zigezu, commended the Deputy Minister of Water Resources, Dr. Edward Hinga, for his support, indicating that government is committed to addressing the water situation in this country. Presentations were made on the effectiveness of services and products provided by Aptec Africa and Grundfos. Reporting for SLBC News, I'm Sheku Smaila.
Now the Sierra Leone Botany Company Limited has supported Dwazak and Krube communities with over 321 million leones to mitigate the rate of flooding in these communities. The country manager, Sierra Leone Botany Company in Israel, Okujago, said the project is aimed at demonstrating their support to their fellow citizens in the prevention of extreme flooding situations. He made these statements at the handing over ceremony in the company's conference room here in Freetown. Joseph Ture reports.
Derailing issues for residents of Dwazak and Krube communities is persistent flooding when it rains heavily. People in these communities have gone through a lot of constraints during the rainy season. Since its inception, the Sierra Leone Bottling Company has made tremendous contributions to the Dwazak community over the years, and these include providing the first pipe-borne water, markets, and over 120 million loans for the construction of a bridge in the community. According to the country manager, Sierra Leone Bottling Company Limited, Israel Okujagu, the company funded the Freetown Urban Resilience Project with the aim of including social groups in the communities, enhance community leadership in the process, and promotion of accountability of all involved. He highlighted that the project is to enhance flood mitigation plans by constructing drainages and proper waste management scheme.
It is an initiative to support and strengthen the national and local capacities of Sierra Leone to reduce and manage natural disasters in our communities. Supported by CRS, the official international humanitarian agency of the United States Catholic community. The project was born as a direct response to climate disasters that have been affecting Freetown in recent years, and in particular, 14th August 2017 disaster. So thank you so much. This was presented to the people of Dwazak through the office of the CRS, and of course, our worship the mayor of Freetown.
Making a statement on behalf of the Freetown City Council, the mayor, Yvonne Akisoya, lauded the company for their gesture and stated that the action taken by the company was timely and that the council hopes to see a city where flooding has become a thing of the past.
This is actually testament of what happens when everyone comes on board and when we actually begin to talk to each other and, most importantly, talk to the people and ensure that what is being done is what is actually required.
Councillor Alusain Toure of Ward 485, on behalf of other councillors in the Dwazak and Krube communities, expressed appreciation to the Sierra Leone Bottling Company and promised to work with the various stakeholders involved in implementation of the project.
Now the Guarantee Trust Bank Sierra Leone Limited has reached their target rate of 67 million loans. This was disclosed during their annual general meeting held at the Hub Hotel, Spur Road here in Freetown. Well, should I refer files in this report?
Doing banking business with the public as its major objective of expected profits of every step the transaction takes, either for the customer or for the bank itself. Sometimes banking business experience loss while its customers realize profits, or the reverse does happen. But in this case, the focus here is on the profit margin reported by the Guarantee Trust Bank Sierra Leone Limited. Hence, the chairman, board of directors, George Taylor Lewis, explained that the country's economic growth slowed to 4.3% in 2017 from 6.2% in 2016. The economic growth downturn for 2017, he said, cannot be unconnected with the business environment as the country largely had a weak recovery in mineral production. Another challenge, he went on, was the intensified inflationary pressures owing to high instability of the exchange rate and tight monetary policy of the Bank of Sierra Leone. In order to support the government reconstruction program in 2017, the chairman board of directors outlined some of the operations of the Guarantee Trust Bank in Sierra Leone.
Inflationary pressures intensified owing to high volatility of the exchange rate and the tight monetary policy stance of the Bank of Sierra Leone. Our fiscal outturn deteriorated in 2017 due to a shortfall in revenue mobilization and spending overruns in all the major expenditure categories. The Bank of Sierra Leone reduced the local liquid assets ratio at 60% from 70% and retained cash reserve ratio at 12%. While the monetary policy rate was increased to 14.5%.
Managing Director, Guarantee Trust Bank, Ade Adebiyi, told SLBC that the Guarantee Trust Bank has been honoring its corporate social responsibility in the country.
Last year, we did two major schools. We paid for the renovation of one of the government secondary schools in Koromas. We also spent about 150 million leones on another primary school in Freetown, St. John's Primary School, amongst other social responsibility projects in the country.
Among services being provided by the Guarantee Trust Bank are offering internet banking service, MasterCards, and mobile banking to its customers.
Now, 4 accused persons, including a civil servant, were refused bail when they made their first appearance in court for allegedly impersonating as President Julius Maada Bio. The accused persons were using different SIM numbers to call and pretend to be President Bio. Magistrate Santigi Kamara of Magistrate Court No. 1 is handling the matter. Daphne Kimamakoli has details.
The 4 accused persons, including Muhammad Usman Sise, Alhaji Issa Mansare, a civil servant, Lamin Sori Sise and Usman Sise, were charged on 2 separate files, both on 2 counts of conspiracy and impersonation. Facts adduced in court revealed that the accused persons on Thursday, 12 July 2018, conspired with other unknown persons with intent to defraud David Chambers and Martin Michael, pretending to be the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. It was further stated that the accused persons with intent allegedly duped David Chambers and Martin Michael using these telephone mobile numbers 088-030-296 and 076-88 9577 to be President Julius Maada Bio and his personal assistant Abdoulaye Cissé. An application for bail made by Defense Counsel Jesse Munda Jengo on behalf of the accused persons was refused by the presiding magistrate Santigi Bangura. Assistant Superintendent of Police Ibrahim Esman Saray and Assistant Superintendent of Police Eric Dean are prosecuting the matters. The accused persons were remanded at the Male Correctional Center, Pedemba Road. The matters were adjourned to the 8th of August 2018.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry has held a pre-luncheon meeting on the National Tree Planting Campaign 2018 at the Ministry's conference room, new building here in Freetown. This year's theme is Plant Stick for Better Your Life. This year's celebration starts next Tuesday, the 7th of August, and will last for a month. Sheila Reffel.
Pedro da Sintra gave the name to our country, Sierra Leone, which means Lion Mountain, because of the beautiful mountains and hills. But recently, people are cutting down trees and deforesting the mountains and hills. Sierra Leone, according to reports, is amongst countries prone to disaster and flooding. According to research, deforestation was the major problem which caused the August 14 mudslide and flooding. The Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry has been planting trees in the country since last year. During the pre-launching of the one-month national tree planting campaign, the Minister of Agriculture and Forestry, Mr. Joseph Danema, said that their mandate is to provide food security for Sierra Leoneans, and the importance of the meeting is to ensure sustainable forestry and biodiversity management and conservation of our forest ecosystems. They have 7 priority areas which will form their core investment agenda on agriculture in the next 5 years. One of them is to strengthen sustainable biodiversity conservation and management, including forest development. The minister said he is also aware that the spate of flooding, mudslides and heavy winds is a direct function of the rampant deforestation that has beleaguered this country.
While you're watching News Hour, the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation here in Freetown, we continue with more stories making news tonight. The National Publicity Secretary of the All People's Congress Party, Cornelius Devoe, has said their chairman and leader, former President Ernest Koromas, will not be returning to the country today, Thursday, 2nd August, as planned, but they will inform the people and the public about his return. Mr. Devoe also disclosed that they have been assured by the police that former President Koromas' passport will not be withheld from him. He made this statement in an interview with SLBC's Joseph Toure.
Publicity Secretary APC, former President Dr. Ernest Koromas was supposed to return from a well-deserved vacation tomorrow, Thursday, the 2nd of August. But for obvious reasons, it has been deferred at a date that will be announced in the next 48 hours. Well, our national chairman and leader has no reason to be afraid to return to Sierra Leone after a well-deserved vacation. He is our national chairman and leader, and he has actually dedicated 10 years of diligent service to this country, and as a party we will be welcoming him on his return at a date that will be announced in the next. He has always been with the party, he has always been engaged in the leadership of the party, he is part of the leadership of the party, and one of the reasons why he is so desirous to return is the fact that he wants to provide leadership for his party. And that is why he will be returning at a date that will be announced in the next 48 hours. And rumors that have been making rounds on social media that if he returns, he's going to be arrested, that his traveling documents are going to be confiscated and not true. You know, we have received assurance from the Sierra Leone police that his traveling documents will not be confiscated and that he will not be arrested, and that the police are going to provide adequate security for him as a senior statesman and former president. We will be receiving the leadership of the party and family members will be receiving the national chairman and leader of his return for the well-deserved vacation, and we will take him to Makeni and we will address party members at the Makeni office. From here he will retire to his residence in Makeni.
Now, a recent survey shows that 62% of lactating mothers do exclusive breastfeeding in Sierra Leone. According to reports, Sierra Leone made a significant progress from 59% to 62% within 3 years. Breastfeeding Week starts on Wednesday, the 1st August 2018, with the theme Foundation of Life. Darren Barry reports.
Breastfeeding is baby's first vaccine that prevents health risk, cost-effective and creates a strong bond between mother and child. It should be done by the mother immediately after birth and should last for 6 months without substitute. As effective breastfeeding demands time and energy, fathers are encouraged to take extra share of household chores and child-rearing responsibilities. Director of Food and Nutrition Aminata Shamit Kroma described breastfeeding as a natural mineral without any waste that helps the child to be healthy and strong. She said that exclusive breastfeeding contributes to the well-being of mothers, help them to save monies, and the best practices of feeding a child.
First, when a child is born, that's the first thing that the child gets. Colostrum is full of antibodies. We've heard that it's the first immunization, it's the first maculates, it's God's maculates. And it is breastfeeding is the most effective and affordable, natural and renewable resource of antibodies the world has ever known. It cannot be replicated. No matter how the breast milk substitute, no matter what they say, that cannot be replicated.
She said that by 2025, their aim is to increase the numbers of mothers that do exclusive breastfeed to 80%, calling on all to provide a safe environment for suckling mothers. UNICEF representative Dr. Hamid El-Bashir Ibrahim commended the Directorate of Food and Nutrition and the Ministry of Health for its tremendous efforts on the increase of suckling mothers. He said that having a baby-friendly environment will help the ministry meet its target by 2025. He calls for a strong legislation for the protection and promotion of exclusive breastfeeding, calling on the government to regulate the substitute for breast milk. Deputy Chief Medical Officer Amara Jambai said that exclusive breastfeeding demands a concerted effort and an enabling environment for suckling mothers. He reaffirmed his ministry commitment to protect systematic commercial pressure on marketing breast milk substitute. He called on partners to embark on massive awareness raising during the week-long breastfeeding week to protect and support optimal breastfeeding. Executive Director of Focus 1000, Mohamed Jallo, spoke about the importance of exclusive breastfeeding during the child's first 100 days. He encourages the men to support their wives by reducing their workload when they are doing breastfeeding. However, according to some lactating mothers, exclusive breastfeeding helps their children to grow healthy, warm, and cry less.
Because this is a connection between me and the pikin.
We are going to exclusively breastfeed our children. It's the best way to prevent our children from health risk and have strong bond with our children. We are advising other mothers to breastfeed, calling on them not to use substitutes as a means of breastfeeding.
Now in Amsterdam, Netherlands, the International AIDS Society has just convened the world's largest forum of experts to advance knowledge about HIV and AIDS, present news research findings, promote global collaboration and enhance scientific synergy with other health and development sectors. Harold Williams was in attendance and he now reports.
Such gatherings are intended to galvanize political accountability among governments, donors,
the private sector and civil society for an inclusive, sustainable and adequately financed multi-sector response to HIV infections, AIDS, and associated co-infections from hepatitis, cervical cancer, and other causes of death for people infected with HIV. At the adjacent exhibitions of the Global Village, various contributors used creative content to highlight the state of viral responses in their different localities. Sierra Leone's empty booth and absence from this aspect of the conference underlines the challenge to bring the world's attention to this part of West Africa. Within the main body of the conference itself, however, Sierra Leone was officially represented by Dr. Suleiman Lacor, a physician in the Ministry of Health HIV Response Program. Dr. Lacor has been featured in the news for treatment of hepatitis infections of the liver. Dr. Lacor benefited from mentorship by the Journal of the International AIDS Society to design future research and implement further prevention strategies in Sierra Leone.
So much experience in relation to clinical care of HIV, in relation to prevention, human rights issues, as well as activism. I have been to the AIDS Youth Village. I've also been to some other presentations that have to do with pre-exposure prophylaxis. And here in this room, we've just attended a meeting on how to submit an abstract. I believe this is what we need as Sierra Leoneans, to understand what abstracts that are needed for acceptance into AIDS conferences. Well, not just AIDS conferences, but other conferences as well. So if I have that capacity, I'll provide that form of mentorship for my colleagues, as well as my junior medical students and junior colleagues as well.
Dr. Lacor and other experts like him are now expected to promote human rights-based evidence-informed HIV responses that are tailored to the needs of particularly vulnerable communities. Although the conference shed spotlight on the state of HIV response in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, the southern portion of the African continent remains the epicenter of the viral epidemic. One of the conference objectives challenging Sierra Leone is to highlight the critical role of HIV prevention among young people within the country's entire range of healthcare settings. Sierra Leone's challenges to prevent an increase in new AIDS cases will depend on continuous advocacy to key populations recommended by credible agencies such as UNICEF, including people living with HIV, transgender people, displaced populations, youth and adolescent women, and sex workers. The Ministry of Health and its partners must now address the provision of more access to testing and medication for these categories of people at risk of HIV and AIDS.
All this is news on the SLBC in Freetown. It's now time for some international news, and Wilhelmina Boko is all set.
Hello and welcome to International News with me, Wilhelmina Boko. In today's summary, Zimbabwe's government warned it would crack down on dissent after 3 people were killed in clashes between opposition protesters and security forces overshadowing parliamentary and presidential elections on Wednesday. President Emerson Mnangagwa on Thursday called for an independent investigation into the violence. In a series of tweets, Mnangagwa confirmed that he was in talks with opposition leader Nelson Chamisa in an effort to diffuse the situation. The violence, which tainted the country's first election since the toppling of veteran leader Robert Mugabe, prompted statements of concern from the United States, the United Nations, and the United Kingdom. Google is developing a version of its search engine that will conform to China's censorship laws, reports say. The company shut down the engine in 2010, complaining that free speech was being limited. But online news sites The Intercept says Google has been working on a project codenamed Dragonfly that will block terms like human rights and religion a move sure to anger activists. The government of Eritrea has chastised the United Nations Security Council, claiming that the body had allowed itself to be used by adversaries to inflict unjust sanctions on the Horn of African nation. Asmara further stressed that the sanctions of 9 years ago were not based on fact and law. Eritrea hails the wrongs inflicted and demanded that they be given justice. In July 30 press statement titles, "The question is not removal of sanctions, it is why sanctions in the first place." The Ministry of Information blamed the clique in Washington and Ethiopia's Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, TPLF, for being behind the sanctions. And thousands of women in South Africa took to the streets of Pretoria on Wednesday to protest against gender-based violence. The protest, dubbed Total Shutdown, is pushing for change in how the country addresses the issue of violence against women using various methods. Women in the country live in fear of attacks every day and are saying enough is enough. A survey published in 2016 shows that 1 in 5 South African women older than 18 has experienced gender-based violence. Activists say authorities have done little to stop the war against women. And that's all coming to you from the International News Desk in Freetown. Many thanks to my producer Anne-Marie Goodbye and the rest of the production team. I've been Willie Minor with the thanks for watching.
Well, many thanks there indeed to Ulamai Naboko for the latest international news there. Well, from the international news, we now move over to the sports desk and my colleague Esther Marie Samura is all set.
Hello and welcome to Sports Updates on News Hour. In this edition, Sierra Leone's trained UEFA, CAF, English FA and FIFA Football International referee instructor, referee John M.S. Bull has passed his own. He was the longest serving physical health education teacher at the Prince of Wales Secondary School in Freetown. His demise has been viewed by many as a huge loss to the sports family. Here is the report of his profile. John Bull, who was born on the 15th July 1945, is a household name in the sports sector in Sierra Leone. He had groomed and trained many sportsmen in the country, including the current FIFA badge referees. He was a devoted and dedicated referee manager and instructor. One of his daughters, Joan Moyatu Bull Kamara Esquire, spoke more about his father.
My dad was born on the 15th of July, 1945, at a small village called Peliwau. And in that village he was educated. I think he came to Freetown around the 1970s. He was caring, he was passionate. He's got passion for his kids.
As a teacher, he spent much of his time at the Prince of Wales Secondary School and was the longest serving PHA teacher. Michael A. Bundo is the principal of Prince of Wales Senior Secondary School. He said James Bull had taught for over 10 years before he joined the school in 1994. According to him, the dedication and enthusiasm of John Bull during his teaching days are worth emulating.
I had passion for the profession. And let me tell you, I have a belief. The belief is that when you are a teacher, when you are dedicated in teaching other people's children, your own children will come out nicely. And that is exactly what happened to Mr. Bull. He was always in the confines of this school. He went to classes to teach. When it was, say for instance, sport, you will see the energy in him to at least say something, see that what the sport will come about takes place.
Linda Bull, his last daughter and captain of Sierra Leone national female cricket team, said his father was the source of motivation towards her success and he will be sadly missed.
I'm very, very heartbroken because my dad was my greatest source of inspiration. He motivated me in the world of sport and he taught me everything there is to life. Even in the aspect of cricket, my dad taught me both the theoretical and the practical aspect of cricket. And the sudden demise of my dad has left me in a very sad state.
Mohamed Feman, successor of John Bull as referee's manager, said his demise is a big loss to the referee's family, maintaining that the corps of FIFA badge referees were trained by referee Bull and had mentored many.
In 1992, when I came into refereeing, he was my instructor and my mentor. He grew and groomed some of us in a higher position, and we want to say he spent an excellent life in refereeing and training of referees in Sierra Leone. He grew most of the or all of the top referees right now in Sierra Leone. Will be greatly missed. He will be greatly missed because he understood the meaning of refereeing.
Mariama Aminata Bull, wife of the deceased, said she spent 38 years with Mr. Bull as her husband. She maintained that his love and care for his children and family will forever be missed and remembered. He will be buried on August 15th. Esther Maisamo, SLBC TV. And the National Sports Council has come up with a press release, and the National Sports Council would like to inform the general public that the football stakeholders have submitted resolutions of the Sierra Leone Football Association Extraordinary Congress held in the city of Bo on the 28th of July 2018 to the Directorate of Sport on Tuesday, 31st July 2018. The National Sports Council has set up a committee to examine the report in 8:30. We will soon summon a press conference to address the following: the resolution of the Extraordinary Congress, the impasse and the way forward. We kindly request that the membership of the Sierra Leone Football Association and the general public exercise patience and allow the process to be completed. We are sorry for any inconvenience this may have caused. Signed by Ibrahim Bangwa, Director of Sport. Well, that's the latest update in sport. I am Esther Maisama. Thanks for watching.
Many thanks then indeed to Esther Marie Samara for the latest in sport. You watching news on the SLBC here in Freetown. The Anti-Corruption Commissioner Francis Ben Kaifala has said he is ready to end corruption in the country. He expressed this determination at a press briefing held at the Commission's conference hall in Freetown. These include the Hajj Gate and allegation of misappropriation of public funds at the Ministry of Youth Affairs. Joseph Toure files in this report.
Corruption is an epidemic that crumbles the social and economic aspects of any country in the world. Over the years, cases of corruption have drawn serious public attention, as these have to do with their welfare. According to the Anti-Corruption Commissioner, Francis Ben Kaifala, there are various corruption-related files in the pipeline, and he is ready to take cogent actions on the fight against corruption. Mr. Kaifala noted that indictment has been drafted on the Hajj case, and it has been discovered during the investigations that more people are involved in the case. Those involved in the Nassit Ferry case that was dealt with by his predecessor should pay 200 million leones each. The commissioner also added that the former head of petroleum unit, Raymond Kagbo, and others were summoned by the commission on allegation of misappropriation of 1.3 billion leones. He registered frustration that corruption is causing the country to lose a lot economically. One of the challenges in the fight against corruption has been orders from above. Currently, the commission is perusing the government's transition team report to identify what they have interest in.
To court. And as we speak, of course you are aware that the Hajj file was unsealed. It was unsealed here in your presence. And the case was supposed to have come up on Monday, the 30th of July, was it? It didn't come up because a lot of things were being planned around that case. Firstly, the indictment itself has been redrafted. New charges have been included, and additional people or person has been included.
He called on the public to help in the fight against corruption and to present whatever evidence they have to the commission.
Many thanks there to Joseph Toure for putting that report together. Now to end the news, a quick reminder of the top stories. African Court President on Human and People's Rights has called on the government to ratify the Human and People's Rights Protocol. The Commission Anti-Corruption Commission has vowed to end corruption in the country. And the Parliamentary Public Account Committee has queried the Agriculture Ministry for improper count of public funds. That's all in this edition of the news. On behalf of the rest of the production team, my name is Mahawa Aliyu. For more about our programs, do send us your comment to slbc.sl. Thanks for watching the news and good night.